Question. As you listened to this morning's gospel, how many of you were surprised at the words that Jesus said? How many were perhaps even taken aback? A few people? Okay. My sense, it certainly is Jesus speaking with great passion. Moreover, and maybe it's just me reading into it, I get a sense that there's certainly some frustration, maybe even anger, in those words with which he speaks. And that be true, so why does the Prince of Peace say that I'm coming for division, not peace? I'm coming to light a fire on the earth. Before offering a few thoughts on those questions, I'd like to, as often is the case, put this day's gospel in the context of the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12. We have heard some of those proclamations over the past few weeks. In chapter 12, Jesus continues his journey to Jerusalem with his disciples. Now in Luke, to journey to Jerusalem is code. It's code for we are traveling to the cross. We are traveling to passion and death. And we as a band are walking together with Jesus. As he makes that way, the first words are to his friends, don't be afraid. I pray that you would be courageous as we walk together. This is where we're going. This is what awaits us. But I pray that you be strong, that you not be afraid, that you would be courageous. And as they go on the way, there's a lot of storytelling going on. And one of the stories Jesus says is, don't be greedy. In fact, I invite you to think about what's really important in your life, in my life. What do you value? And to help us to think about that, Jesus says, remember how your God cares for the birds of the air, and how your God clothes the lilies of the field. As you think about what's really important. Jesus continues in conversation, storytelling, teaching, and he says, I invite you to be vigilant. I invite you to be ready. I invite you to be responsible. Reminding them and us that the one to whom much has been given, much will be asked. And they continue their conversations, and then Jesus says, how is it that you can read the weather signs? They must not have lived in St. Louis. How can you read the weather signs so easily, but you can't read the signs of the times? You can't read the writing on the wall. And so that's sort of the topics of teaching, and there's many other things going on. And that's why, like a Baptist preacher, Jesus starts getting wound up. There's passion in his words. There's also maybe this hint of frustration. Like, you're not getting it. Let me repeat it. And what Jesus says is, I am a catalyst. Our language, I've come to stir it up. And what I'm a catalyst about, that's that fire, is for you, each of you, to think about, are you ready to make a choice again to be my disciple? Because it is always a matter of choice. And an ongoing, repeated choice. Are you ready to be my disciples? And if you say yes to that, I'm going to let you know that it probably won't look like any discipleship you presume it to be. So he gives some examples in today's reading. To be a disciple means, are you ready to change? Now there's everyone's favorite word, change. Are you ready to change? And see, now I think that's where one of the little anchor points came in because I think the disciples, the leaders, gave lip service to those words. Say, oh yeah, I'll change. Not. And that's where it was like, don't be saying that if you don't want to change. The church words, are you and I as disciples ready to be transformed? Are we ready to be transformed by the word every time we come and listen to this word proclaimed? Are we ready to be transformed just as bread and wine are into the body and blood of Christ, broken for others, poured out for others? I go back to Father Diekman and his wisdom saying, what if the bread and wine are the only things that change today at the 11 o'clock Mass? Are we ready to be changed? That's how I'm stirring it up. A second question on from today. Whose voice do you listen to? Whose voice do you listen to when it comes to matters of church information, church teaching? I'm not asking anybody to reveal their sources today. For me, I listen and read Crux, Whispers in the Logia, St. Louis Review as primary sources. I also look at the USCCB website, the Vatican News, and Catholic News Agency. That's where I get my information as much as I can to continue about being in the world. Who do you? From whom do you get your information? To whom do you listen when it comes to the media and the world? Again, not asking you to reveal your sources. Who do you listen to? Someone simply who affirms what I already believe? Is there objectivity to what is being said? I go back to the old Fox News branding, fair and balanced. What I listen to is what I seek out. Is it fair and balanced? You know, again, whose voice do we listen to? As part of the issue with Jeremiah today, everyone was listening to someone else till they found the message they liked. Poor King Zedekiah, not a lot of backbone. Listens to Jeremiah, but then his nobles say, you got to put him away. He's demoralizing the soldiers. So he listens to them. You go do what you want. But then Ebed-Melech comes to him, a courtier, and says, no, you really got to set him free. So who do I listen to? Sort of played out in this story today. And it was really like I listened to the one whose message I like and want to hear. A third example of the change or the fire to be lit under us. When we were baptized, each of us received an anointing on the crown of the head from sacred chrism, in which we were reminded that we have a share in Jesus' prophetic ministry. Am I ready? Am I willing to be a prophetic voice also? To live out that prophetic ministry. Here's a very simple way that can take place this fall. I'm sure some of you will be traveling. Maybe you go visit your adult children. Maybe you're going to go visit for that parents' weekend for college. Maybe you're just visiting friends. You like to travel. So you're there on a weekend, and all of a sudden you go to your friends, your children, whatever. I would like to go celebrate Sunday Mass. Where can I go? Are you ready to do that? Wherever you are. You're not saying you need to go with me. You're just saying, this is what I believe. This is what's important to me. I'm going to make it a part of my day. There is living out being a prophetic voice. There's living out your prophetic ministry. But by way of warning, it's not an easy job to do. It's not well received. Jeremiah is the poster child, the epitome of everything that can go wrong with being a prophet. In fact, the other day I was reading and discovered they've made Jeremiah's name into a noun, and it's called Jeremiah. But it's any long, sad, complaining story about one's misfortunes and troubles. That's a noun now, representing Jeremiah, because that's what happened to the poor guy. He always tried to have a voice to speak. And am I willing to be a prophetic voice? It won't be usually well received. But the two ways to do it is you have to really believe deeply in God's love for you, and And you must have love for the people that you share the message with. Because if you don't, then you're just sort of loud and nagging. Do I deeply love the people for whom the message I share, which was part of Jeremiah's story, which is why things were really tough for him. I do love these people. And that's why I tell them a tough message. My words are not to soften Jesus' words of the gospel today, but hopefully maybe give you some insight of why it was such a passionate issue for him. The invitation, are you ready to stir things up? Are you ready to make changes in your life? Whose voice do you listen to? And are you ready to exercise that prophetic ministry, which is all of ours?